Good morning, boys and girls, and welcome back to the southern wing of the Stink Bug Works. Today, we're doing post-run maintenance on this, and I'll talk briefly about the T3. I pulled the motor out, put it on the motor analyzer, and lo and behold, it runs just fine. Ain't nothing wrong with it at all. This, on the other hand, I hooked it up to the motor, and the motor would go, sounded like Beavis and Butthead. Anyway, I'd blow compressed air in here, and then the motor would go, that was cool. This does not like water. Now, this is not the original shrink tube. I cut the shrink tube off. I totally painted this thing in conformal coating and reassembled it and put the stock decal on just because I could. And the conformal coating wasn't enough. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut this thing apart, put several coats of conformal coating on it, and then paint the whole thing with that liquid electric tape, this stuff. Paint the whole thing with it, and then put shrink tube over that after it's all said and done. Because this thing, all you got to do is say water to it and it quits working. You know how that is. You got to be quiet around your stuff. I do have one complaint about this boat. This shaft is really soft. And you see it's got a flat in here that goes into your standard run-of-the-mill, you've seen these everywhere, couplers with the set screws. Be very careful when you're tightening up your set screw on this. You don't want it gorilla tight. You don't want it Guten tight. You want it snug with a drop or two of blue Loctite, because this shaft is so soft, it's really easy to deform it. And then when you go to try and take it out of this ball bearing, you will have a tough time, and you will find that you have to file your shaft and get those little burrs out of it so that it will actually go through that ball bearing. Otherwise, this shaft is stuck in here, and that's no fun. You want it out so you can lubricate and clean this bearing right here. Now, I think Tenshock makes a prop shaft exactly like this and considerably longer, and they use a much better quality steel on the wire here. So that's part of being cheap. You have to know your limitations, and one of the limitations is don't be a gorilla on this bolt. Use blue Loctite and waterproof your ESC. The T3, being as it's all carbon and the antenna is all hidden in carbon except for the part that's exposed, now that works really good when the exposed part is exposed. But when the exposed part is hidden underneath the carbon fiber stuff underwater, there's no reception at all. And I think my speed control just sensed the last input and held it there for a while. It might have been 5-10 seconds, and then it shut off. And it was like, oh, I'm supposed to go into fail-safe mode. So it held full throttle for just a little while. When I ran it with the slow tape, I had the strut in, let's just call it position 1. And this time, since the last run it appeared to be dragging its butt a little bit, I dropped the strut, a millimeter or so from position 1. And I noticed in the video, I have a little bit of hop there in the boat when it gets up to speed. And so I'm going to return it to position 1 once it comes out of the paint shop. I think it's probably time to strip it down, not much to take off, strip it down and send it to the paint shop. So that's the status of the T3. Until next time, boys and girls, jet out.